Welcome back to ISpeakSpokeSpoken. My name is James, and today we are going to be looking at easy business English and how to negotiate. So it's important to be able to negotiate in English, especially in a business setting. If you're going into business, it is a vital skill. We are going to first off look at some vocabulary that will be important throughout the video so you're not confused as we go ahead. Let's get started and look at some of these words, shall we? First up, we have offer. So what is an offer? An offer is when you are proposing something to someone. You are saying to them, this is what we will give you for that thing. You are giving them an offer, and someone can either accept or reject an offer. So it is from one party to another party, and that is how that works. Next up, we have a counteroffer. So as you can probably notice, counteroffer actually includes the word offer. And what it is almost a second offer back to that person. So a new proposal made in response to a previous one. So one party may give one offer, and then the next party may then give a counter offer back to that offer. And this is obviously very, very, very common in business, as businesses are constantly giving offers and counter offers to each other to get the best deals. Next up, we have an agreement. So an agreement is what is made when a counter offer has then come to its conclusion, and both parties are happy with the terms and conditions, and they have come to an agreement as to what they want. They've said, yes, we are happy with that. Let's do it. Next, we have compromise. So what a compromise is when someone is willing to maybe not get everything they might want, but they're willing to compromise and maybe go a little bit less than they wanted before, but still with things that they would like. You see, so yeah, they're going to make some concessions. A concession is a good word here to describe this. Next here we have bargaining. So bargaining is the process of discussing terms and agreements as to how to come to an agreement here. So you see what I mean? You are bargaining. You are upping each other's offers. You are having conversations about this, and that is how we bargain. And last but certainly not least, we have making an offer. So making an offer is what you do once you have decided what you actually want to sell something for, and how much you are willing to buy something for. You might give an offer, and either the person either the person agrees or they disagree. And yes, we have the phrase making an offer. So let's go back through these words here, and as you can probably notice, we have red bits next to some of these words. And what they're there for is because we've decided that these are some words that are quite difficult for people to pronounce. And we believe that they would be good ones for us to go over with you. So, because of that, what I would like you to do is I want you to repeat after me. I am going to say them once. I would like you to say them. And then I'm going to say them a second time. And then I'd like you to repeat one more time. Let's go through it, and we're going to do this on each slide, so don't worry if you don't get the hang of it right now, you will get it throughout the video. Number 1, offer. Offer. Number 2, counteroffer. Counteroffer. Number 3, agreement. Agreement. Notice here how we have this little thing here, and then we have the dot here. This means that this syllable is the stressed syllable in this word. Agreement, not agreement or agreement. You see, we have agreement. Agreement. You want to go over that bit of the word. That is where the stress is. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? Next, we have compromise. Compromise. And notice once again, on compromise, we have the apostrophe here and the dot here, which means that it is compromise, not compromise or compromise. You see what I mean? That is where the stress is in the word. And here we have bargaining. Bargaining. And once again, we have our stress here, right at the start of the word. So bargaining, not bargaining. You see? It's going up, then down. And you can practice with your hand or you can draw it out. Bargaining. You could go like this. And they're all good ways to practice this. There's no bad ways to actually practice this. It's just as long as you're getting the stress on the right syllable of the word. And last but not least, we have making. Making. And I'm sure that you've already got it here where the stress is in this word, because I know that you'll already be pros by now at this. But here we go. So you can see we have the apostrophe here and the dot here, which makes it making, not making. You're going up on the first one and then back down on the second syllable. Great. Let's move on to the next slide, shall we? So before I move on, I want you to take a look at the top right-hand corner of the video. You'll see a little eye there, and if you click on that, you can get all of the resources that you can see behind me, and you can also get a quiz that you can take over there. If you're on a mobile device or you can't see the eye, you can go down into the description below, and you can get all of those resources down there as well. Now, let's move on and go a little bit further into how to negotiate in English. So we would often like to express offers clearly and politely. So the key words here are clearly and politely. And it's very important because to actually come to any kind of proper agreement in any kind of business setting, you want to be clear. Because if someone feels like what you're saying isn't clear enough, they're not going to make an offer, because why would you make an offer if something isn't clear, right? That wouldn't make any sense. Next up, we have politely, which is, once again, I think one of the most important parts of this, because if someone is polite, you're going to want to actually do business with them. If someone appears rude or indifferent or in any way, you aren't going to want to do business with them because you're not going to want to work with that person, you see. And it's quite easy, especially for people who aren't native speakers in English, to sound rude while they're speaking English because they don't understand why they need to change certain words in certain ways to make them sound less harsh. And what we're going to do today is have a look at nicer ways and more polite ways to say some of the things that you could say in different ways. So let's look at the first one here. First up, we have, we would like to propose. We would like to propose. So would like replaces the word want. So want it's not always a rude way of saying things. It can be, but it's a bit harsher than would like. Would like is a more tactful, a nicer way of saying something. You see? Instead of we want to propose, we would like to propose. It sounds a lot softer. You see? So yeah, if you would like to repeat after me, we would like to propose. We would like to propose. Absolutely fabulous. Now let's move on to the next one. Our offer includes. So this is very clear because what you're actually doing is you're stating out exactly what you're about to say, what you're about to state to the other person, and you are spelling it all out for them. Our offer includes da 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 da, and that is what will come next. Let's have a look at this word here. We have the apostrophe here, and then the long vowel here. So includes, not includes or includes. We have two includes. We have two syllables here. So it is the second syllable here that is getting that includes, not includes. You see? Next, let's look at the next one here. So we have, we are prepared to provide. we are prepared to provide. So what this is doing, this is expressing something that they are willing to provide to the other person. And it's saying it in a concise way that has no kind of rudeness to it. And it is very, very clear. Very clear. Can you tell me what part of provide is the part with the stress? Well, can you see our little apostrophe here? And then we have the end. So provide, not provide. You see? One more time if you want to repeat after me. Provide. Go under that word up and then go up. Great. So here is a lovely example that we have of this in use. So we would like to propose a 10% discount on your first order if we can agree on a quarterly supply contract. So we would like, as you can see, to propose a 10% discount on your first order if we can agree. So you're setting a term here on a quarterly supply contract. So this person has been able to firmly say what they want and actually set some terms while still remaining clear and polite, which is very important as the other person is much more likely to agree to this if they are. So next, let's look at responding with tact. So what is tact? You may recognize a similar word to tact that might help with that. It is tactics. And tactics are the methods in which you intend to achieve a goal. It's your method of doing that. And tact is the same thing. So, well, tact is very similar. What tact is doing is you are using politeness, you're using a certain way of talking to someone to achieve a goal in terms of, okay, maybe you'll be more polite in hopes of closing a deal with someone or something like this. So let's look at some of the sentences that we have here and break them down so we can understand how best to use tact in a sentence. First here we have, thank you for your offer, we're considering, and then the rest of the sentence. Firstly, we have, thank you for your offer. We're making the other person feel special and thanked and understood and thanked for what they have done. People will often be very thankful for you saying thank you to them because it shows that you are seeing them and seeing what it is they have done for you. And then here you are clearly and concisely expressing to them what it is that you are then going to do. What are the next steps for you after them giving you the offer. Next here, we have, we appreciate your proposal. Could you possibly? So like the first one, we appreciate your proposal. We're not just saying, oh, I've heard your proposal or something like this. We are actually telling them that we are thankful. We appreciate your proposal, which will make them feel so much better about it because actually they feel, as I said before, they feel seen, they feel they feel like they have been thanked the way that they would like to be, which is totally understandable. And let's have a look at some of these words here. So appreciate, we have our apostrophe and our dot here, so it is on the pre part of the word here. So appreciate, not appreciate. It's not appreciate or something like this, you know. Your proposal, which part of proposal has the stress? Can you tell me? Okay, if you said it is this part, the po part, you were right. So proposal, not proposal, or proposal, you see? And that is indicated by our lovely apostrophe and our dot here. Let's now look at the last one here. It is that's an interesting offer. However, we would like, and then maybe then you would go off with a counter offer or something else that you would like to add. And here, what you are doing is you're affirming to them that actually what they have said makes sense. It's an interesting offer and then you are going to slowly add in what things you would like to add to it after that. And this is a very tactful, which is another word that we use here. It's a very tactful way of achieving that goal. Now let's look at our example here. So thank you for your offer. Here you can see once again our thanking, we're being gracious. Thank you for your offer. We're considering it, but could you extend the payment terms to 60 days? So we're using the word but here to then shift what we're saying into what we would like to change in that offer. And it's a very good way. You could use but, you could use however, and you could use many different things here in place of this, but often works in this place as well. Let's now have a look at some of our red words, and I would like you to follow after me as we go. So first up, propose. Propose. Yep, our stress is on the second syllable here. Next up, we have includes. Includes. Yep, stress, as we've said before, is on the second syllable. Provide. Provide. Yep, once again, second syllable. Whereabouts are we? Discount. Discount. Great. First syllable, right? Discount, not discount. Discount. Fabulous. Where are we now? Quarterly. Quarterly. How many syllables does the word quarterly have? Can you count them? Quarterly. So once again, you've got your drum, quarterly, quarter, da, 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 da. And yeah, and you can break down these words into sounds, and that may be an easier way of finding how many syllables are within each of those words. So quarterly, and which of these syllables do you think has the stress? I'll say it once again, quarterly, and have a look at the word and see what symbols we have. Yep, so we have our apostrophe here and we have our dot here. So it is on the quarterly, not quarterly or quarterly. You see, that just wouldn't make any sense. So quarterly. Next here we have contract. Contract. Great, and whereabouts is our stress in this word? We have two beats here, da, da. We have two syllables, and the main stress is on contract. Contract. And we also have another word, to contract, which is the verb meaning to get some kind of illness or something, to contract a virus. And that is very different. That is where the stress is actually on the second syllable. So it's very important to make sure that you are getting the stress on the right syllable, because you may actually end up saying the wrong word if you don't. So next up we have the word appreciate. Appreciate. Great. Next we have proposal. Proposal. Get that pr sound at the beginning. Proposal. Good. Lovely, guys. Next, possibility. Oh no. So here we have possibly. Possibly. Interesting. You don't need to say interesting. We would just say interesting. So it's just an R in the middle there. Interesting. So here we want to now look at how to make articulate counteroffers effectively. Because quite often, as I said before, someone will offer you something in a business and you may want to counteroffer that with another offer instead to get the best deal for you. And there are articulate ways of doing this, which will make it a lot more clear, concise, and hopefully it will sound politer to people who are listening. And here we have our first one, which is, we're interested in your proposal. but we'd suggest. So, as I said before, we're using but as a way to go from the first bit here, which is making them feel special. You're telling them that you're interested in their offer. It's a polite thing to do, to tell them, okay, actually what you've said makes sense and I'm interested in that, which is true. However, there is something that they would like to change or add. So we will use but, we'll use however, one of these words to shift from the polite part of the sentence into what they want to change. And because we have this part actually sounds a lot more polite. So instead of saying, we'd suggest this, or let's change this, you're saying, we're interested in your proposal, but we'd suggest this. It sounds so much nicer. And it will make the world of difference. Believe me. You might not hear it, and it might not sound it might not sound any different. It might just sound like you're saying more words, but it really, really, really makes the difference and could be the difference between a good offer and a bad offer, or even no offer at all. Let's look at the next one here, which is, that's a good starting point. However, we propose. Once again, we're starting with something nice, and then we're moving into the details of what we would like to change. And yeah, here we're saying, actually, the word starting point is a good way of minimizing the fact that you want to change something. So you're saying, okay, here is where we can begin. Let's go on this journey together of finding the correct thing for the both of us. That's a good starting point. However, as I said, it is the same here as but, and we're using this as a way of shifting from the first part of the sentence to the second part of the sentence. And last but certainly not least, we have, we're almost there. Would you consider? What this is doing is, this is telling the other person we're very close, and it is more likely to let the other person it's more likely to get the other person to carry on with the negotiation, because they're not going to think, oh, we're going to be here forever, or this other person's going to just make it a terrible offer for me. They think, okay, we're actually pretty close. And if they still feel like it's a good offer, they're more likely to carry on if you say this. So we're almost here. We didn't even need to have a but or however here. They just go straight into the would you consider? Would you consider this? And would is used here as a way of making a bit of a softer way of saying will. So will you consider is a bit more of a hard version of saying would you consider, and it sounds a lot softer and a lot nicer if you were to say would you consider, because that is asking them a question, and indirectly you are then making them feel like they're in power in this situation. Let's look at an example here. An example is, we're interested in your proposal, but we'd suggest a 15% discount instead of 10%. Once again, we're using the but here to go from one part of the sentence to the next. We are telling them that we're interested in what they're doing. We're complimenting what they've said, what their business is, or whatever we're complimenting them on. And then we are going into the part of the sentence where we want to actually give them the bit of information that we would like to change. And that is a great way of actually also giving them that information in a softer way here. Let's now look at clarifying details and ask questions. A lot of times in a meeting, there will be things that maybe the other person has said to you that you would like to clarify. You don't want to leave anything unknown when you are going into a deal, because you don't want to sign a deal when you don't know what you're actually signing for, because that would be it wouldn't be the best idea, because you are signing something without any kind of full knowledge of what that is. Let's have a look at some of our examples here. First up, could you clarify what you mean? This is a way of asking someone to repeat themselves, but in a way of not saying, oh, can you say that again? You see, it's a much more formal approach to that question. And also it is getting them to actually maybe rephrase what they said before in a different way. Because if someone's clarifying something, they're going to say it in a different way, which you'll probably understand a bit better if they do that. So could you clarify, not can you clarify. You can see once again, like would and will, could and can are similar sides of a coin here, whereas could is a lot softer and it is our question word that we are indirectly giving them that chance to actually answer in a way, and it sounds a lot softer when we say this. Could you clarify what you mean? And then you say by this, or this, and you can then give certain parts of the conversation that you didn't understand precisely. And that is when you can ask them something in particular that they can then answer for you. Here we have, what does flexible contract refer to? Here we are actually asking about a specific point of the sentence, so of what you're talking about. So you're saying, what does this part mean? And what does it refer to? Where is it pointing at? And this is a good way also of saying it. It's a bit less formal than our first one, but it's down to the point and you can actually get what you want from this in terms of information. Next here we have, why is this point crucial for your team? And in saying this, you're going to get more information from them as to why they need to know that thing, why they need that information, why they need that thing. And it is a helpful way for you to understand their motives and what they need and what they need to say. Let's have a look at an example here. So, could you clarify what you mean by flexible contract? Are we talking about the duration or the payment terms? Here, once again, we're asking them to clarify something, to express it maybe in a different way. Are we talking about the duration or the payment terms? So we're asking a question and we're giving them two answers here to choose between. So actually doing half of their job there by telling them what they could actually answer this with. Let's now have a look at some of the words here and how we pronounce them. Number one, we have however. However. Great. And we have our apostrophe here, our dot here, so it's however. It's on the second beat. However. However. You see? However. Great. We're almost there. One syllable. There. We don't need any beats. And we don't need any stressed beats here. So there. Make sure to get that sound. You see? It's like a vibration on your tongue. So there. There. Great. We're almost there. Would you consider? Consider. Can you tell me what syllable there is stressed? So we have three, don't we? Consider. And which one is the stressed one? It's the one with the apostrophe, right? And the dot. So consider. Consider. Great. And as you go along, it's good if you could actually practice with me, so you can clap them along, you can practice with your hand, you can practice in any way of seeing which one is the stressed syllable here. Because in doing that, yeah, okay, you might feel a bit self-conscious in practicing and maybe sounding a bit silly by speaking out loud. But these are ways of actually remembering the words, of remembering the stresses, and to get it into your muscle memory how to pronounce these properly and sound more like a native speaker in English. Let's look at the next one, which is clarify. Clarify. And here we have clarify. And where is our stress? It's on the first one. Clarify. So clarify. Clarify. So it's on the first syllable here. Next we have contract. Contract. And as I said before, contract is where we have the stress on the first syllable. Two syllables in contract, and then we have our stress contract. And as I said before, it changes the word completely if we move the stress to the second syllable, which is contract, which means something completely different. Next up we have crucial, 2 syllables, and our stress is on the first one. Crucial, not crucial, crucial. Amazing. And we have clarify, clarify, 3 syllables here, and the stress is on our first one. Clarify, not clarify or clarify. Clarify. Perfect. Last but not least, we have duration, duration, 3 syllables here, and our stress is on the middle one here. So duration, not duration or duration, it's duration. Practice that one more time. Duration. Fabulous. Let's now go on to how to communicate your stance politely. So you may have some interests, so you may have some things that you want to express to them and to tell them where you actually stand in this deal. Because to actually communicate with them properly is to let them know where you're at, where you would like to be them, where you would like them to be at, and that is a good way of communicating to them. So first up, we have agreement, and this is the way of agreeing. So firstly, I completely agree with your point on something. And this is the way of agreeing by using this. I completely agree with your position. And then you may say on whatever it is that you want to say. Next, we have disagreement. How are we going to disagree here in a polite way and still sound confident and straight to the point and clear? The way we do that is I see your point, but we have a different perspective. Perspective means view, a different opinion on something. And I see your point is letting them know that you understand them. You're not telling them, oh, you're wrong. And they're not going to get their back up if you say this. I see your point. You're letting them know that. But once again, we have our word here. So, but we have a different perspective. And this softens the blow on this. You see? And let's now have another look at an example for an agreement here. So I completely agree with your point on the importance of timely deliveries. Once again, we're saying I completely agree with your point on, and like we're telling them we understand what they're saying and we agree with that. Let's now have a look at an example of a disagreement. We understand your position on pricing. So they understand why they have some kind of reason of doing something. And then this is softening the blow for when they say, however, and then move on to the reason why they wouldn't go for that deal at that time. So we need to consider our and move on with the sentence there. Great, so let's look at some strategies here for successful negotiations and some ways of negotiating properly, as I said, in a concise, polite and clear way, and how to actually get that working. So firstly, active listening is so important, and it is a good way of actually letting the other person know that you're listening to them. Because who wants to work with someone who doesn't listen to them? That just wouldn't make sense, because then you're not going to be understood. They're not going to be understood. They're not going to feel seen, and nothing's going to be clear. And active listening is a good way of showing this. So you should be listening anyway, but to active listen means to let them know that you're listening through what you're saying. So explaining to them, oh, right. And then like almost explain to them back what they've said to you, or to clarify something with them. So show understanding and ask for more information. Let's now move on to the next one. A win-win. What is a win-win? What does it sound like? So 2 wins, how would that work? Well, a win-win is when you come to some kind of conclusion that works for both parties. So a win-win would be, it could actually be 2 things. So a win-win could be for 2 people, or it could be for the other, or for the person you're doing business with. You could say to them, Either way that this deal goes, it's a win-win for you because either this happens or this happens and you have you win both times. So it makes sense to go for the deal. And that is a good tactic in explaining to someone why they should do business with you, because you are explaining to them that it is a win-win for them. And it can also benefit both sides and work for both of you. It's a win-win for both sides. Maybe you do something for them, they do something for you. It's a win-win for both. So win-win could actually have two different meanings in that sense. Cultural sensitivity. So cultural sensitivity means that you're respecting the cultural differences of someone else, and maybe they have a different way of negotiating, a different way of doing business, and you're respecting that and letting them know that you respect that and that you want to make it as good for them as possible and comfortable for them with their country, with the cultural differences that they have. Let's now have a look at some of our red words here and go through them together, shall we? First up, we have agreement. Agreement. How many syllables do we have here? Agreement. Agreement. So where is our stressed syllable here? It's the second part, isn't it? It's the agree bit. It is agreement, not agreement or agreement. You see? It's agreement. And we have our long syllable here. So agreement. Great. Next we have disagreement. Disagreement. And once again, the dis doesn't change anything with the stress. It stays on the agree part of the sentence. Disagreement. Disagreement. Next we have active, active. And can you hear the stress here? We have two syllables. Is it the first or the second one? Active. Yeah, you're going up and then down, right? It's 1, 2. Active. Next we have listening. Listening. Where's our stress? It's on the first one. Listening. Listening, not listening or listening. You see? Next we have win-win. Win-win. And here we have the stress on both words because there are two words. So it's win-win. It's going to have the same stress on both words here. So let's go through that one more time. Win-win. Fabulous. Here we have approach. So we have two syllables, approach. And our second syllable is the one that is getting the stressed syllable here. Approach, not approach. Approach. There's a big difference there. And if you keep on repeating after me, you will get it. And just keep going. And I believe in you and you can do it. So just keep practicing and practicing and practicing. And just keep saying these words. Even if you have to turn them into sounds. So instead of approach, you can go ouch. You can see, like there's many ways of practicing this, but following along is a very good way of doing that. Next up, we have cultural. Cultural. One more time. Cultural. And here, our stressed syllable is on the first one. So cultural, our stressed one's on the first. Cultural, not cultural or cultural. You see? And here we have sensitivity. Sensitivity. How many syllables do we have? Sensitivity. Sensitivity. 5 syllables. So one of these syllables has the stress. Can you find it? Sensitivity. Sensitivity. Which one is it? It's our tiv, right? Because we have our apostrophe and our dot here. Sensitivity, not sensitivity or sensitivity or sensitivity or sensitivity. You see, there are many different ways that you could have said this, but the correct way is sensitivity, and that is the way that we should say it. Let's now look at an example of active listening. If I understand correctly, you need the products delivered within 2 weeks, right? What you're doing here is you're saying to them, you're explaining to them what you have actually gauged from what they've said, or what you've understood from what they've said. And what you're saying firstly is, if I understand correctly. So you're setting an idea here of, okay, maybe I didn't understand correctly, but if I did understand correctly, so you're showing confidence here. If I understood correctly, you need the products by this date. And it gives them the chance to actually explain to you if you did get that wrong. You see? Let's have a look at an example of a win-win approach. A win-win approach could be, what if we agree on a higher price but include an extended warranty? So can you see the win-win here? The win-win is the higher price for the other person. So you're agreeing to pay a higher price to them, but you will then in turn get an extended warranty. So for both of you, if you do this, you'll both win. You'll both get something extra here. It's a win-win. Here we will move on to an example of cultural sensitivity here. We want to ensure our negotiations respect our negotiations respect your cultural practices. Are there any specific considerations we should keep in mind? I'll say that one more time. We want to ensure our negotiations respect your cultural practices. Are there any specific considerations we should keep in mind? So you're explaining to them clearly what it is that you want to do. We're trying to respect what your cultural way of doing business and your cultural preferences and your practices. And then we're saying to them, is there anything that we can do? Are there any specific considerations we should keep in mind? And then that gives them the chance to let you know any of those things. It's a clear way of saying that. Next up, we are going to look at how when we're reaching an agreement, how to use concise language to actually do that, how to use consensus language. So here we have, it seems we're in agreement on something. What you're doing is you're saying to them that you believe that both of you have come to an agreement of some kind. And that gives the other person the chance to either say, yes, I agree with that, or no, I don't think that we're at an agreement just yet. But it lets you see where you're at with them. What this does is, it's a polite way of saying to them, it seems like we're in agreement now, and a good way to shift the conversation over to potentially the area in which you will then close the deal. Here we have, I think we have a deal regarding. So what we are doing here is we're saying what we believe we have the deal regarding, and then we have the chance to explain to them once again what the deal is properly, and actually clearly put out what you want to sell and what you want to buy on the table, and it will be there clearly. Here we have, are we all set with? This is a way of moving from having conversation, kind of talking about something, to saying, are we ready to actually close this deal? Are we all set with this? We use the word set as in finished, ready, or something like this. Here's an example. It seems we're in agreement on the delivery terms. Shall we proceed with drafting the contract? So yes, once again, we have moved from having just conversation and talking about prices and so on and so forth, onto saying, let's now move on to the next stage, which is the stage in which we will close this deal and come to some kind of agreement. Let's have a look at the words that we have up here now, shall we? First, we have correctly. Correctly. Perfect. Within. Within. Agree. Agree. Let's quickly look at this word here, agree. How many syllables are in this word? Just because a word is short doesn't mean it only has one syllable. Agree, right? It has two beats. Da-dum. Great. And which of those syllables has the stressed syllable? It's the second one, isn't it? So we have our apostrophe and then our end of the sentence. So agree, agree. And remember we have our long vowel sound here, agree. And you're falling from that A sound onto the gree sound. Agree. So a couple of things to think about there, even though it's a short word, but just keep following along. Don't worry. You don't always have to think about these things. Just practice them when you can, because in doing so, you will ingrain into your mind how to properly say these words. Next, we have ensure. Ensure. Look at how the word starts with en, but it's not ensure, it's insure. We have our in sound. And then we have our stress syllable, which is sure, ensure. And that's instead of ensure, which would have been if the stress was here. Let's now look at the next one, which would be agreement. Agreement. How many syllables do we have? Agreement. Yep, so 3. And where is our stressed syllable? If you can say it out loud, it's the second one. Agreement. So agreement. Great. And last but certainly not least, we have with. With. How many syllables does with have? It's just one, right? With. With. We don't need any more beats there. It's just one beat. Great. So now let's look at how to summarize an agreement and ensure mutual understanding by summarizing something. To summarize is a very good way to get towards the end of an agreement, to even if you've just made an agreement, to actually make sure that both of you are very clear on what it is that you've got to stop any kind of miscommunication or confusion later down the line. Let's have a look at our first one here. So to summarize, so summarizing means to say everything that you've talked about up till now. So to summarize, we've agreed on. So to say everything that we've talked about, this is what we have said that we are happy with. And it's a very good way of explaining to someone what you believe has just come out of that conversation, and then it gives them the chance to actually tell you whether you're right or if you're wrong. Let's recap the main points. So to recap is quite similar to summarize. It is, let's go through everything again. And the main points. So what this is doing, this is telling the person, we're not going to have that whole conversation again. We're just going to kind of bullet point through what we're saying, the bits that we have come to the agreement with. And this is a concise way of expressing this, because you're not then going to have another massive conversation. You're just going to say the main bits. Here, just to confirm, our agreement includes. So just to confirm gives the way of saying, you're telling them, don't worry. Like just is giving that don't worry kind of idea. I'm telling them, I'm not going to back out right now, but just to confirm, this is just what I want to know. I need to know this. Our agreement includes. So then you're going to ask for what actually the agreement includes. And you're going to let them know what you think it includes, and then it gives them the chance to tell you if they have a different idea of it. Here's an example. To summarize, we've agreed on 15% on a 15% discount, 60-day payment terms, and monthly deliveries. So once again, we're summarizing something. We're going to make it much shorter than it was when you had the whole conversation, but you're going to say it quickly. You're going to say the things, you're going to mention the things that you've already talked about, and then we're going to make a bullet point of the things that you have said and what you believe has come out of the meeting. So I want to remind you before we finish the video that this has not been a negotiation course. This is just a way of using English to negotiate well. So don't take this as a full course in business negotiation, but just remember these are very good ways to express yourself politely, clearly, and in the correct way that should help you in those kind of scenarios. So, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's helped. I hope you followed along. And if you haven't understood things, you can always go back to the beginning, or you can let us know in the comments below. I've been James. We've been ISpeakSpokeSpoken, and joyfully